Welcome. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Browse the description box below. Narcissistic grandmothers. Culturally and societally, grandmothers are often portrayed as, the warm-hearted, compassionate, loving family member to go to, for assistance with babysitting at times, singing lullabies, reading stories, going to the playground, warm traditional home cooked meals, and just, an extra listening ear who gives you that little extra something that, your parents at times aren't able to give due to the so-called it takes a village to raise a child theory, right? And then that being your mom or your dad's mother. It's not popular to portray grandmothers in the light of a wolf in sheep's clothing until you've met the narcissistic grandmother. Today I will be sharing with you 5 pointers or signs to look out for that narcissistic grandmothers display that will help you to protect your children and yourself and your own sanity going forward. Number 1, the narcissistic grandmother has zero respect. She has a difficult time respecting others, but then definitely expects respect, and more times than not demands respect. She refuses to give the same respect in return, though. That's the key point. She loves, enjoys inserting her opinion. The thing is that this is just an undercover way to intentionally or plot to criticize and belittle or denigrate you as a parent. You can be doing your best at parenting, but she will still find something wrong or quote unquote bad. This will definitely affect your kids in a negative way, even leaving them feeling like it's okay to be treated this way by others, not telling anybody about it and just secretly suffering. Number 2, the narcissistic grandmother overrides your authority as a parent. She really believes she knows best when it comes to your children and the rearing of them. This could be because, she feels like she was a great parent, or she may secretly realize that she did not do a good job at all as a parent and wants to pretend to make up for it, so to speak. Or even if she does know that she didn't do a great job as a parent, she doesn't care and wants to continue her ruination with each passing generation. You may leave her instructions for caring for your child in the event of babysitting. She ignores your instructions. She belittles your choices, such as your style of parenting, perhaps, and she even passively aggressively puts down, things your preferences as a parent, saying stuff like, your baby sleeps better here or prefers, the types of or food products that she provides in her home or snacks or stuff like that, or that your child eats better when they're with her. So little jabs like that she will try to put you down with. She pretends to forget your specific instructions, not just ignore them. And particularly if you call her out on them. Your child may eventually feel like it's okay to disobey mom and dad, which is not a healthy way for a child to develop. Number 3, the narcissistic grandmother plays favorites with grandkids. Basically, one or few kids will feel unworthy, while the other kids feel very worthy in the presence of grandma or when spending time with grandma. She would verbally compare the children, her grandchildren, and just being unfair, judgmental, always pointing out usually superficial characteristics of the differences in children that are acceptable within that family. It's definitely emotional abuse, and it can do serious damage to your child's self esteem, especially if no one in the family intervenes or attempts to protect the child. Number four, she tells your kids hurtful and inappropriate things. Example, she may say something like, Grandma will be sad if you don't visit her tomorrow. With kids, they internalize everything, and narcissistic grandmas, see their grandchildren as extensions of themselves. She'll do the best she can to mold them into what she wants them to be, into what she finds acceptable. And the kids will try to, adhere to her wishes to be accepted and, not feel like they're responsible for not being loved, and try to do their best to please her in many ways. The adults do have defenses to handle toxic people, but kids don't. So this is so unfair. This can lead to confusion and anxiety, even depression in children. This can also go as far as psychosomatic illnesses and other serious issues in the child. Number five, she is a come and go kind of grandma. So these narcissistic grandmothers are known to sporadically disappear in their child's life, intermittently, just, not be there anymore, show up, very irregular. It can throw a whole family and the children off, especially. The thing is that the slightest offense can spark this in the grandmother. She will see, the slightest offense as a big slap in the face, and sometimes this can take it to the extent of she will completely disappear out of the child's life in your life. And this sudden abandonment from grandma can be a painful, confusing experience for a child. And this is obviously very unhealthy and harmful. Number six, leaving your child with grandma can be not just emotionally dangerous, but also physically dangerous. It's not advisable that you would leave your child. For instance, if your child is sick, has a high fever with grandma, because if something happens, she will always have an excuse as to why she didn't call emergency care or take the child to the doctor, or that she didn't realize how serious the illness was if something were to happen, or that would further the child's illness. There's cases of grandmas who allow their grandkids to play in the front yard without a fence, without a gate, right next to the street, running around. I'm talking about kids as young as 3 years old, 4, 5 years old, little kids, toddlers, without supervision. Cars going up and down, zooming up and down, and they think it's just fine that the kids play outside in an unsafe neighborhood or in an unsafe environment, because they're not thinking about the child, they're thinking about themselves and what they have to do. Even though when you're around, they pretend like everything will be fine, and they're very aware and on point when it comes to babysitting for your children. But if you just show up spontaneously, you will find that your child is not being very well taken care of. Or sometimes the grandmother will pretend to be ill, when she's visiting you, because she just wants to be there for what she can gain from the visit, just relaxing, using up utilities and other amenities while not having to do childcare on vacation, with you and such. So you have to be careful in those respects as well, because oftentimes when narcissists pretend to be ill, it's all to gain attention and sympathy. They also pretend to not know what to do in the case, like, let's say your child fell down, scraped their knee, got a goose egg, or in some way become injured, or pretend to be too much in shock, whatever excuse they will have that your child was not given proper care in the proper amount of time. This even happens in cases where grandmothers have worked in the healthcare field or for decades. They may even be former nurses or in some way connected to the healthcare industry, and have been trained in many different ways to care for someone who's injured or ill, but they'd either pretend to forget certain skills, or having some other excuse as to why they weren't able to perform them. So you have to be very careful, because the excuses will be flying. Oh, and the projections back onto you. Grandmothers have been reported to do things as far as pretend to lose children in neighborhoods. So if it's a neighborhood where, it's a close-knit neighborhood, let's say she has a friend up the road, or another family member lives up the street, she may pretend to have lost your child when you arrive, as if she doesn't know where your child is, and she pretends to search for your child nearby, in her house, outdoors, backyard, knock on the neighbor's doors, but then suddenly has an epiphany to go and check Auntie So-so's house, or neighbor so-and-so's house, right? So, and then the child just happens to be there. Did the child walk there? How did the child get there? Oh, we found you. How did you get here? He walked here. Oftentimes the child can't speak for themselves, or it's a small child who's mobile. But 99% of the time, the grandma took them there, and the neighbor is either, or the family member is either ill, old themselves, probably a great grandmother or father, and aren't able to speak up about it. Grandmothers have also been reportedly known to have brought pets for grandchildren, or purchased pets for grandchildren, or just given them as a gift, and then hurt the pet, or for some reason the pet at grandma's house that we go to visit, that at grandma said is for us or for the grandchild, somehow died mysteriously, or the child had to at some point witness the grandma hurt the pet, or heard the grandma threaten to hurt the pet, or something like that. Like, that's very emotionally damaging and torturous to a grandchild. So these are just a few of the ways you're going to have to take it very seriously when it comes to narcissistic grandparents and protecting your child. So hopefully this made you a lot more aware, and it was helpful to you. And I hope to see you in my next video. Take care. Bye.